Let me start by saying that we remain laser focused right now on...
Folks, welcome back to Chris Wide Africa. This is Chris in Central Pennsylvania. Many of you know that I'm a retired full colonel from the U.S. Army and an intelligence analyst, a strategic analyst, among other things. And I just have to ask this question. Laser focused? What exactly have you been laser focused on? Abandoning 11,000 Americans, nationals in Kabul, in Afghanistan? What laser focused?
Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul, and on doing everything that we can to continue evacuating Americans, allies, Afghans.
Doing everything you could do or can do. What about those 11,000 Americans? It's interesting. They said they don't have the resources to do this, but let's just take a look at what the U.S. military has on hand. The C-17 inventory for an aircraft first field in 1993 has 157 active duty aircraft. Now, obviously, not all of them are available. 1/3 of them are in phased maintenance. But that means about 100 aircraft globally are available for an evacuation. And I don't want to hear that we'll weaken our defenses elsewhere, like in South Korea or elsewhere, and the Koreans will move, or in the Persian Gulf. No. This is all hands on deck. The Air National Guard has 47, and the Air Force Reserve has 18. Wow. That's 200 plus C-17s, of which at least 130 should be available for instant deployment. We saw a crew put 640, not recommended, 640 people in the back of an airplane. So let's do the math really quickly. That's a pretty quick evacuation if you have an airfield secure, which you claim. Now, the United States Air Force has 335,485 active duty personnel. That's not even the Guard and Reserve, the Air Guard or the Air Reserve. The U.S. Army has been lowered from when I was on active duty a couple years ago, down nearly 100,000 to just 485,900 active duty, 336,500 National Guard, and 189,000 in the Army Reserve. That's 7, 8, it's almost 1 million in the Army. And the Marine Corps has 181,200 Marines this year. That's 1.5 million active duty troops with over 130 operational C-17s. The C-130 inventory is 145 on active force, 181 in the Air National Guard, and 102 in the Air Reserve. Really? That's 300, 400, almost 440 aircraft, and you take out 1/3 for phase maintenance. That means you've got about 200 C-130s. And I want to hear that they're not designed to fly all the distance, because they don't need to fly all that distance. They need to get to Kabul to a safe harbor nearby. All hands on deck. This is utter nonsense. They have not done everything they could do to help Americans and allies and Afghans on the ground. This is utter nonsense.
Who have worked alongside us and also other courageous Afghans at special risk. And to that end, I'm prioritizing 3 key concerns.
Your priority 3 concerns. Welcome to the party, Lieutenant General Austin, Secretary of Defense, 11 months late. I realize you weren't confirmed 11 months ago, but that's when Joe Biden became president and signaled that he was going to withdraw from Afghanistan and gave the Taliban the message they could do what they want in Afghanistan. You've been in office for over 6 months, and what have you been planning? Priorities. These are priorities that developed after the total collapse and the abject failure of your plan.
First, the safety and security of our people and the people that we're trying to evacuate. As the chairman will brief you, the final elements of additional military forces continue to flow into Kabul, with about 4,500 in place as we speak.
You're going to increase... You're talking about the safety of the airport at Kabul? Really? This is what's going on tonight, right now tonight. That's already tomorrow there, but this is what's going on last night in Kabul. Utter chaos. This isn't secure.
What did I guys? What did I go? What did I guys? Sir. Oh, yes. Shut up. Come on, look at this guy.
They are trained and equipped to defend themselves in their operations. There have been no hostile interactions with the Taliban, and our lines of communication with Taliban commanders remain open, as they should be. My second focus is maintaining security at the airport itself.
Here, U.S. military troops are firing weapons to chase people away from the airport. That's safety? What are you dreaming of?
In concert with forces from our allies, our troops have set up defensive positions around the airport, and the airport is able to function safely.
Where was your laser focus 2 weeks ago? 11 days to a collapse. You watched it happen in full motion and did virtually nothing.
Now, we don't take this for granted, and I continue to be in daily contact with General McKenzie and commanders on the ground to make sure that they have what they need to keep it safe. My third area of focus, of course, is the pace, increasing the flow of aircraft and people out of Kabul. And we've flown out several thousand since the 15th of August, and our goal is to be able to increase our capacity every day going forward.
The forces here are key to achieving the 5 ongoing tasks that the Secretary laid out in his comments.
Now, General Milley says you had 5 tasks, but I heard General Austin say 3 tasks, so I'm a little confused.
A major component of sustaining a robust diplomatic presence in Kabul is to maintain a functioning and secure airport in Kabul. So we continue to dedicate our security resources to that, to secure the embassy, to secure the international zone, and to secure HKIA, the international airport in Kabul, for our diplomats, our personnel, and our continued support to the government of Afghanistan. The Afghan security forces have the capacity to sufficiently fight and defend their country.
You're saying, Joe Milley, that the Afghan security forces have the capacity and the resources to defend their country? Really? Really? Are you keeping up with current events? This is like aliens. Hicks. I don't know if you're keeping score, man. We just got our asses kicked. Seriously. Have the resources? What about the will? They don't have the will to defend their country, at least not en masse.
Let me make one comment on the intelligence, because I'm seeing all over the news that there are warnings of a rapid collapse. I have previously said from this podium and in sworn testimony before Congress that the intelligence clearly indicated multiple scenarios were possible. One of those was an outright Taliban takeover following a rapid collapse of the Afghan security forces and the government. And we will continue to support the Afghan security forces where necessary.
Now, how is this going to happen when they have largely crumbled and disappeared? How are you going to support the Afghan forces when they're gone? They don't exist. They've wilted away and disappeared. Some have fled to Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan or Uzbekistan. Who are you going to help?
In accordance with the guidance from the President and the Secretary of Defense, the future of Afghanistan is squarely in the hands of the Afghan people.
Well, fortunately, our national security is focused on things that are very important to General Milley, like white rage, which he doesn't understand. And look at this from the Department of Homeland Security. The focus for our national security strategy is not Afghanistan. It's not North Korea. It's not Iraq. It's not Venezuela. It's not Putin and Russia. It's not Beijing. Yes, they're all mentioned, but this is their real focus. They went out of their way to make sure they pointed out this because they're race merchants. And this is really sad and disappointing. It's time for some people to resign. This is pathetic. This is the best this nation can afford. This is the best we can do. It's not. It's disappointing to say the very least. I've called this the Saigon scenario for over a week now, and it is very much the Saigon scenario. We've abandoned an ally with an inept, foolish geopolitical plan that had no chance of surviving, and now we have generals and secretaries and cabinet members covering their overly large, ample derrieres while people die and our foreign policy crumbles. I thought Saigon was bad. I thought Desert One was embarrassing. I thought Tehran was a disaster. I thought the Marine barracks in 1983 was frightening. 9/11 catastrophic. This is unbelievably inept, completely avoidable. Trump had 2,500 security assistance forces in Afghanistan and a commitment to Afghanistan's political development and economic development, and the Taliban didn't strike. They waited till the Trumpster was gone and the coward-in-chief came in office. And now they rule more of Afghanistan than they did on September 11th, 2001. Think about that, folks. 20 years of blood and treasure, 20 years of alliances with Afghanis for nothing. For nothing. Absolute disaster. None of it was necessary. If only the Manchurian cadaver wasn't trying to virtue signal and shoot one through the hoop to declare victory before September 11th. If ever there was a high crime and misdemeanor, perhaps this is it. impeachment hearings now.
Another was a civil war, and a third was a negotiated settlement. However, the time frame of a rapid collapse, that was widely estimated and ranged from weeks to months and even years following our departure. There was nothing that I or anyone else saw that indicated a collapse of this Army and this government in 11 days. And there are a range of possible outcomes in Afghanistan, and I want to emphasize repeatedly, and I've said this before, a negative outcome, a Taliban automatic military takeover, is not a foregone conclusion.
Well, folks, if you're not subscribed to Chris Wyatt After, why don't you become one? Smash that button right down there. You can imagine I'm quite irritated about this. Cheers, everyone.